Good morning, girls. Welcome to a new video. I've just gotten the kids on the bus and I just finished a quick morning cleanup and got myself dressed and ready for the day. And yes, I am in a very warm, cozy sweatshirt because it was 38 degrees this morning. What day is it? It is Friday, May 23rd, currently, when I'm filming this video, and it was 39 degrees. That is unacceptable. I told myself I wasn't allowed to talk with you about the weather, yet here we are. But that is why I have this very thick, cozy sweatshirt on while hanging out with you girls today. So before we jump into the video, because I feel like there's a lot I want to talk about. I always feel like there's a lot I want to talk about. Hence why last week's video was 42 minutes long, the one that you saw last week, where we drew my blood, we spun it, we injected it. That's what we're about to discuss before we get into today's topic, but I feel like there's a lot I want to talk with you about. And last week's video, I got it down to 42 or 44 minutes. That was such a tremendous feat because we went on a field trip, we covered so many different topics, and I was like, oh my gosh. At one point, it was an hour and 23 minutes long, and I was like, I can't get it any shorter without losing the sustenance. What am I going to do? And my goal typically is to try and keep my videos under 40 minutes long. But when we are covering really in-depth topics, or I'm filming a what I eat in a day, a meal prep video, you know, they can be anywhere between 8 and 10 hours of filming and footage. So in order to get those 8 hours into 36 minutes is a process, that is for sure. But we did it. We covered a lot. And before we jump into and start chatting about today's topic in video, which is one that I am hearing so frequently about hormones, hormone levels, and where they should be. But before we roll up our sleeves, I've already got mine rolled up. I'm ready to go. Before we roll up our sleeves and talk about that, let's do a skin check-in. If you're not sure what I'm talking about, go ahead and check out last week's video. I will have it linked for you in the description box down below, as well as the cards, but you don't want to click away from today's video. Today's video is going to be an enlightening one. So just check it out after you finish this one. But I thought we needed to do a little bit of a skin update. So just Friday the 23rd, it is now officially 9 days after I've had my microneedling and my PRP injections. And girls, my skin feels amazing. Absolutely amazing. I will say it was about 2 days of scabbing, but by the second day, I really honestly was able to cover it up with this sunscreen. This compact of sunscreen, which is not a typical product for me. This is not a product I typically use. I am a Say and a Merit girl, but I knew I needed some extra protection. This compact of the Skin Better, Sun Better Advanced Mineral Protection was a dream. It was a smoke and mirrors dream if you have done something to your skin. Because it is a sticky, sunscreeny material, it didn't dry out on the scabby areas that I had. But I will say by day 2, it was barely detectable. And then when I had all of my makeup off and just my skincare products on, by day 3, you couldn't see a single thing. And I have to say, it is 100% because of the prep work that I did. We used that plasma, which was full of super nutrients. Think of superfoods, think of Miracle-Gro, but not really Miracle-Gro because that's not something we mess around with. But think about it like that, of Miracle-Gro for your skin, and it sealed those wounds up. It healed things lickety split. My skin looked amazing. And I have to say, we know with microneedling, it gets better over time. With the injections under my eye, I feel like you can still see there's a little bit of bags here, but we only did 1 round of injections. The next time, I mentioned this in last week's video, the next time I'm going to have her inject, we focused here on the tear duct area. The next time when I go back in September, we're gonna focus a little bit in the tear duct. We'll continue to fill that in a little bit more, and then out here. So I wanna focus out here because I definitely have Halloween in the temple, and so I want us to focus this way a little bit next time. And then I don't know if this is a possibility, but I do have deep smile lines. I don't know, because I do have pretty deep set smile lines. I don't know if we can do a little bit of filler, you know what I mean, the PRP, a little bit of filling up here to kind of lift. I'm unsure. I'm gonna find out more as we get closer to that time, but I felt as though I would be remiss if we didn't do a little bit of a check-in here, because it's 9 days out. You girls would have just seen the video yesterday, the day before I'm filming this current video, and the skin is skinning. It is definitely skinning. And of course, I did all of the things you saw. I was using the beef tallow, the castor oil, all of the beautiful anti-aging products from Rocasa played a huge role. I, of course, was using my Bond Charge red light therapy mask. I started using this on the second night, and then I did it every single day for 5 days after, and then I've gone back to doing it like every other day. So I did this every single day for 5 days, which exponentially induced faster healing, of course, right? When we think about it from a mitochondrial standpoint and a skin cellular standpoint, of course, the red light therapy mask is going to induce healing. Then starting on day 4, I brought back in my little Zip Halo because the micro and the nano current bring blood flow to the skin. And that immediate glow that you get with the micro current brought blood flow to the skin. It induces collagen repair and regeneration. And so I was using all of my tools. I feel like my toolbox is so vast at this point in my life. And for that, I will be forever grateful that I have the tools in the toolbox. Internally, the supplements that we used leading up to get that beautiful PRP. I mean, the amount of messages I got on Instagram, like, oh my gosh, your plasma is a 10 out of 10. And I was feeling so proud of that because I'm a big fan of like putting your money where your mouth is. And I don't like to just make claims. I don't like to just show certain things. I want you girls to know I practice what I preach. And that right there was a beautiful example of showing I practice what I preach. So the internal preparation and post-recovery played a huge role. The external post-recovery played a huge role. And now I feel like my skin is just glowing and so vibrant, and I'm so excited to do my next session. And I just feel like the Glow Up to 40 has been such a transformative experience for all of us. So many of us are on this beautiful glow up together, and that's what we're going to talk about more today. I typically try my best not to do 2 of the same series back to back. Last week's video was a Glow Up to 40, and today's video is a Glow Up to 40, but I am so inspired by the conversations we're having right now, whether that be in my DMs, in my emails, in the comment section down below, in the Living Well community. The conversations are so fruitful that I was like, you know what? We need to really roll up our sleeves and chat about hormones, our hormone levels, where they should be, how we can measure them, and then what in the heck do we do with that data? How do we interpret it? I'm your girl to interpret it, but even if you're not ready to book a consultation with me, I'm gonna walk you through today what optimal versus conventional looks like, and the lens that I use as somebody who's been doing this for 15 years. I'm not new to the game. This is not my first rodeo. I am somebody who has extensive clinical experience and personal experience to bring to the conversation. So I know I normally don't do 2 videos back to back, but yet here we are. You know, why not? Like, let's have some fun. Let's really dig in and cover the topics that I know my girls need answers to. So that is what we are going to do today, girls. So I'm gonna finish putting on my jewelry. I definitely feel cozy now that I have changed into a warm sweater, and we are going to chat all about hormones, where they should be when we're midlife, us midlife girlies, how to interpret the data, and then what we should do with it. Okay, so I just made a greens with creatine. The new research on creatine and women's health is incredible. Whenever we get a little extra research that's specific to women's health, it's always really exciting for me because so much of the data and so much of the research that comes out, whether it's rodent studies, so mice are non-menstruating. So whenever there's research that's done in a lab on mice, it's always a little bit disheartening because those animals are non-menstruating. So it makes it a little bit difficult for us girlies to kind of align with some of the research. But now some of this new incredible research coming out about creatine is so exciting. So I have a greens and a creatine because, as I said, we've got a lot to cover with our hormone levels and deeply understanding where why, and what our hormone levels should look like. So before we sat down and rolled up our sleeves, I did want to be sure that my brain was firing and wiring on all cylinders. So contrary to what it looks like in my house right now, it is not 8 p.m. at night, but we have not seen the sunshine in what feels like 6 days, and there's not going to be sunshine for many more days to come. And so when I'm focusing on my supplementation, something that's always very important to me is, of course, having adequate vitamin D. We know that vitamin D is actually a hormone precursor. So I'm extremely conscientious of my vitamin D levels. It's something I think about every single day. I was asked on Instagram recently, like, if you could only choose one supplement, what would it be? Honestly, it came down to these two right here. But vitamin D is something that I'm always extremely conscientious of. But one thing about vitamin D is that we actually cannot properly synthesize our vitamin D without having adequate levels of magnesium. And I know that when we think of magnesium, and if you're a subscriber of my channel, then you know this because you have watched my channel before and you have heard me say this. But I know that we think of magnesium when it comes to sleep. And sure, of course, there are forms of magnesium that do induce the most incredible, deep, restful sleep. However, we also need magnesium to synthesize our vitamin D. We need magnesium for proper hormone function. We need magnesium for cognition and for energy and ATP. So magnesium is necessary for over 300 enzymatic properties in the body. And unlike all the other magnesiums on the market, the magnesium breakthrough does contain all 7 elemental forms of magnesium in one convenient capsule. So when I take one magnesium in the morning, like I am now, I take another one midday and then 2 before bed. But when I take this one magnesium with my vitamin D, it's not going to put me to bed. If anything, it's going to help with clarity, energy, and cognition, and really stabilizing that throughout the day. And so I'm going to be taking one of the Bioptimizer's magnesiums before headed into the office. If you've never tried the Bioptimizer's magnesium, I would beg of you to take a peek here at the comments that I have on the screen. This magnesium has not only been life-changing for me, for my husband, and for so many of the ladies here in this community. So if you've never given the Magnesium Breakthrough a try, I would highly encourage you to check it out. You can use my link and my discount code in the description box down below to save. Brain is feeling good, it's feeling sharp. I'm cozy and warm because I just turned up the heat. Don't tell Kaya. He's on work calls right now, so I was able to sneak over to the thermometer and I cranked it to 72 degrees and I shut my office door. So now I'm feeling real cozy and really good. So the idea for this video came to me because the amount of questions I get around labs, I mean, lab questions in my emails, in my DMs, in the comment section on these YouTube videos, because I talk about labs a lot and the importance of labs. But coinciding with our labs, where should my hormone levels be? If I have not explicitly stated this in a video where you have seen it, I am a functional nutritionist and I do lab reviews as part of my nutrition practice. So before we get started, this is not a shameless pitch, but if you do want me to personally go through your labs, I spend between 5 and 10 hours before we even get on a Zoom, depending on how many labs you send me, going through your labs. Then we do an hour-long conversation. We dissect every single detail. Then I create a plan for you based on your specific results. So specific supplementation, foods, and lifestyle practices. So before we get into the nitty-gritty of this, let me just put that out there as a disclaimer. If you want to book that service with me, I will have the link in the description box down below. It is by far the most popular service in my practice because how empowering, one, because we uncover why you have been feeling the way you've been feeling and know you are not crazy and know your body is not broken. So let me just get that out there first and foremost. Next to that, we develop the most hyper-focused plan that helps you feel amazing and incredible because, again, it's made specific to you and your levels. So with this in mind, where should our levels be? What should we be looking for? Because we get this document, we get this data, and our doctor's like, you need to drink more water. You need to reduce your calories. Your cholesterol is a little bit high. Maybe consider taking this prescription. you need to be on Synthroid, you need to be on levothyroxine, maybe you should consider drinking more water, moving your body, and you're like, wait, what? And this is not because our doctors are failing us. This is because the system is failing us. They have 18 minutes with you to go over this data. I spend 5 to 10 hours going over the data and then an hour with you live. So this is not the doctor's fault. I truly, in my heart, believe there is not one person who has gone to medical school as somebody who was a pre-med student. I was going to be a physician's assistant, an orthopedic physician's assistant. So I can assure you, as somebody who went through organic chem, there is not one doctor, I think, on this planet who went to medical school, who went through residency and training not to want to help people. It's because, unfortunately, I'm in the States. Unfortunately, the system and how tethered our physicians are to diagnostic codes and insurance and having such small pockets of time with their patients, that is what has put us in a really unfortunate position. So another thing that I want to clear the air on before we talk through this data, your doctors aren't failing you, the system is failing all of us. Practitioners, physicians, patients, everybody. Everybody is being failed because of a broken system. So we, in my practice, measure on optimal ranges, not normal ranges, because normal ranges, you are being graded on a sliding scale. And that scale is the rest of the American population. I'm not sure about you. I can see very clearly with my own eyes, aside from being a practitioner, we are not being measured to the highest standards, if that's the case. So when we look at a normal range and your thyroid levels are at a normal range, and you still feel like garbage, and your hair is falling out, and you cannot sleep, you have ridges in your nails, and you cannot get the energy to go outside and kick a ball or play with your kids, but your thyroid's in a normal range, that's not you. You're not broken, okay? So my standpoint, what we're gonna cover today, is optimal versus normal and where you should be. So I put together some bullets because I want to ensure that this is by far the most informative video that you have ever watched on understanding your hormones, especially midlife. So I really want to demystify for women between the ages of 35, 55, but even younger and older than that. But I am going to be focusing on levels for that range. However, with that being said, if you're younger than 35 or older than 58-ish, this can absolutely still be applicable for you. But the reason you're going to see things pop up on the screen is because I want you, one, to be able to take a screenshot, and two, I want you to deeply understand why conventionally the levels are very different than what I look for in an optimal setting in my clinical practice. And so overall, one thing I want us to fully understand is our hormones, okay? Our hormone panel. If you are interested also in getting your labs drawn, that's something we can do. Whether we want to do it with serum, blood serum, or saliva or urine. The options are endless for us to do this testing. So I want to put that out there as well, that I could absolutely order these labs for you. So ultimately, when we are speaking about female hormones, we're talking estradiol, progesterone, and something that might be a surprise to you is testosterone. I'm a big fan. I've talked very openly how I'm on hormone replacement therapy, and testosterone is one of the hormones that I'm currently on, and I have been on for a while, as well as progesterone and estrogen. So estradiol is a big one, obviously, as females. Progesterone, testosterone. We need testosterone as women, healthy levels of testosterone, DHEA, and then, of course, our thyroid hormones. So this is going to be the standard confluence of hormones. However, in addition to those 5, there are 2 other very important and imperative levels, cortisol and insulin, that play a huge role in our hormone health. So if you're suffering with feeling unable to release weight, your sleep, your skin health, low libido, overall energy, memory, and constant feelings of fatigue, then I would highly encourage you to make sure that you're taking note on these ranges that I'm about to share. I'm going to also, as I said, pop them on the screen because I'm a visual girl, hence why I do YouTube. It's the number one way that I can learn. But hopefully you can take a quick snapshot or write this down so you can compare your own labs. I want you to be your own researcher, and I'm hopeful that through your research you can make some really positive changes. So starting off with our estradiol. So this is E2. So estradiol is our main estrogen hormone, and this affects our mood, our skin, our sleep, metabolism, and in your mid-cycle, our optimal range, again, our optimal range, this is mid-cycle measurement, our optimal range is between 100 and 300. So this is what I'm looking for. I'm looking for us to fall within this range. And estrogen is so important. I know you even hear me speak about this, about estrogens and detoxing estrogens and removing estrogens from our body. That's more of those phytoestrogens, the endogenous estrogens, not our natural estrogens that our body produces. So we need, absolutely, we need estrogen in our body. If we don't, it impacts our skin elasticity. It truly impacts our brain, our cognitive health, our bone health. As we age, we know that falling can be tremendously scary as we age, especially if our bones are frail and brittle. And as women, this is something that we should be having the conversation around much younger. I'm seeing women going into perimenopause at 35 years old in my practice. I'm a 40-year-old woman. I'm highly focused on my bone health. I'm highly focused on lifting heavier weights and maintaining my muscle mass to ensure that I can support my body through longevity. Well, estrogen is really important for that. So in midlife, this is absolutely declining. So this impacts our mood, our skin elasticity, our bone health, our metabolism, our sleep quality. So if this is too low, you could be experiencing hot flashes, vaginal dryness, low libido, fatigue, joint aches, and extremely dry skin. So some of my favorite ways to support our natural estrogen levels is by prioritizing cruciferous vegetables for estrogen metabolism. Again, that healthy metabolism of estrogen. So think about your broccoli, your arugula, your cauliflower. I also am a big fan of bringing in those phytoestrogens like flax seeds and sesame seeds. These are great if you are somebody who does seed cycling, which again is something I talk about frequently inside my membership, Living Well. We have covered seed cycling extensively and how imperative and important it is to our cycle health. And then avoiding over-exercising and under-eating, which can absolutely suppress our estrogen. And then address our liver health. So liver health is something that I'm always hyper-focused on. You know, we start every single day with the lemon ginger tonic. It is the best way to flush out our bile, to support our liver's phase 2 detoxification, of course, to hydrate, and in addition to that, to really help with our gut health. So our liver is really imperative to ensuring that we have healthy estrogen levels. And then of course, considering things like adaptogens. Maca is one of my favorite for overall estrogen supportive adaptogens. So now let's talk about progesterone, which I say is our body's natural Xanax. So this is that calming hormone, and we want to see an optimal range here, mid-luteal phase between 10 and 20. So this is absolutely something that begins to decline mid to late 30s. So all of my girls on this globe to 40 and beyond, and for those of you that are younger, it's time to tune in and listen so that you can be ahead of the curve. But progesterone, I always say, is on that seesaw with cortisol. So when cortisol is high, progesterone is low. So optimally, I want to see this between 10 to 20 mid-luteal phase. And so when this calming hormone is low, this will absolutely impact your mood, this will impact your sleep, and your uterine lining. So we really need healthy levels of progesterone to support our uterus. In addition to that, if your levels are too low, you probably are going to be dealing with insomnia, anxiety, short cycles, and spotting, and even feelings of PMS. So if you are somebody whose cycle is getting shorter and shorter and shorter, progesterone is your absolute best friend. I'm a big fan, if you're somebody who's not ready for hormone replacement therapy, I am a big fan of topical hormones. I even created a complimentary, absolutely free topical hormone guide. I did this on my own free will because I was suggesting these topical hormones to my clients on a daily basis. And they were like, wait, which one do I use when? And I'm a huge fan of these topical hormones, and I've seen them make a tremendous difference in labs. And so if you're interested, I will have the topical hormones linked for you in the description box down below, as well as my absolute free guide that you can download to use these in a really strategic way. But if your progesterone is low, you want to think about Vitatex, Chase Tree Berry. You also want to think about really helping your body to relax, doing things to support your nervous system. Because when you support your nervous system, we bring your cortisol levels down. When our cortisol levels are down, our progesterone levels can go up. So you want to support ovulation by eating enough, especially healthy fats. Add in that beautiful magnesium from BioOptimizers at night to support healthy, deep, restful sleep. Reduce your chronic stress and screen time before bed. Try that Vitatex Chase Tree Berry. This has been shown to increase that luteal phase and your overall progesterone production. And then you want to bring in some really supportive movement practices. So walking, rebounding, doing things that aren't too intense while we're on a progesterone healing journey. So next we got to talk about testosterone. Testosterone is so important. It's important for our brain, it's important for our muscles, and we want to be measuring our testosterone levels. So I want our optimal total testosterone between 30 and 70, and then our optimal free testosterone between 1 and 2.2. So testosterone is not just for men. It fuels energy, muscle tone, motivation, and libido. And this is something that I see drop after childbirth on a near daily basis in my practice. After we've gone through childbirth, it is really hard for us, if we're not conscientious, to bring our testosterone levels back up. Chronic stress can also be something that's indicative of low testosterone and or heading into perimenopause, which is why I'm having this conversation so much with those of you that are around my age. So if it's too low, you may feel weak, low motivation, low confidence levels, again, that low libido. Not wanting to have intercourse with your partner is a really quick way for me to determine that you have low levels of that testosterone, and you probably are experiencing some muscle loss. Of course, we are all on a protein journey here in the community. I know that we've been talking about this on a near video basis. It seems like every week I'm bringing up protein, but making sure you're getting ample levels of protein, ensuring that you have a healthy level of cholesterol in your body. If your cholesterol levels are so low because we're not getting adequate protein or healthy fats, we're just eating a carb-rich diet, this will absolutely impact your testosterone level. So I'm a big fan of zinc-rich foods, getting in that beautiful servings of red meat, and then bringing in strategic supplementation if you are indeed testosterone deficient. So DHEA is a foundational resilience hormone. So this one is produced by our adrenal glands, and I'm not sure about you, but there have been many times in my life where I have felt that my adrenal glands are flatlined and they need a clear, whether it was after childbirth, whether it was after a really stressful moment of time, I don't know, 2020. There have been many moments in my life, even recently, that I'm like, I need to tune into my adrenals. So DHEA is a foundational hormone that are produced by our adrenals. It converts into estrogen and testosterone, and it acts as a buffer against stress, inflammation, and aging. So it is really important. So if you are too low, symptoms can include things like fatigue, low libido, poor recovery, and premature aging. And I'm not sure about you, after last week's video and going through all of that rigmarole, I don't want to bring on any premature aging. So I want to see an optimal range of 150 to 300. And the ways that we can support this is with quality sleep, especially before 11 p.m., that is necessary for adrenal repair, including vitamin C, supporting your stress resilience with things like ashwagandha and rhodiola, avoiding extreme fasting. This is a big one, girls. If you are dealing with some adrenal dysfunction, please, please, please do not participate in extreme fasting. And then gentle sunlight exposure, especially first thing in the morning, getting outside, looking up indirectly. Do not look directly at the sun, but indirectly at the sun. Or if you're like me and you live somewhere where it's dark, getting that red light therapy mask on, getting that light into your eyes is extremely supportive. So now let's talk about a fun one that I have to pay very close attention to, and that is our thyroid. The optimal ranges for our base level thyroids are TSH, I wanna see this between a 1 and a 2. Our free T3, I wanna see this in the top third of the range. And our free T4, I wanna see this mid to upper range. The thyroid drives your metabolic engine. You cannot have a fully functioning metabolism with low thyroid levels. It's just quite frankly not possible. So even the slight imbalance can result in fatigue, hair thinning, weight gain, brain fog, especially common midlife or postpartum. And I know for many of us, those things happen to coincide. And so we really have to be conscientious of these levels. We gotta tap in and tune in. I recommend getting your thyroid tested twice a year. If you could only do it annually, that's absolutely fine. But you wanna watch this one closely, girls. Believe you me, as a recovering Hashimoto's girly, watching your thyroid is one of the best things that you can do for your overall hormone health. So some supportive tips are getting in your iodine, selenium, and zinc. You can do this with seaweed, Brazil nuts, oysters, or of course, supplementation based on your specific levels. Then you can manage your cortisol levels to prevent that conversion block between T4 to T3. You can test your thyroid antibodies if you're experiencing those persistent symptoms, so I highly recommend that one. And then you can consider tyrosine-rich foods like turkey and eggs to support your overall thyroid function. So now let's talk about the adrenal health. Let's talk about cortisol, because I know we don't automatically consider cortisol when we're measuring our hormones, but it is really, really important. Our optimal range in the morning is between 8 and 15 via blood. So this is taken via blood serum. However, if you're doing a Dutch testing method, so this would be a saliva test. So for me, upon waking on a Dutch test, I'm looking between 15 and 25. 2 hours later, I want you around 7 to 15 optimally. Late afternoon, between a 3 and an 8 is a range that I'm really comfortable with. And then around bedtime, I want to see it under 5. For me, I'm looking for flatline curves. I'm looking for inverted curves and high metabolized curves, because that shows me that there's a low free, so a high output and low availability. This is often from stress or inflammation. So these are kind of the markers that I'm looking for when I'm reviewing Dutch tests, which I know can look really intimidating. So never stress about these Dutch tests. Many of us practitioners like myself are highly trained in reading this data and helping you interpret it in a way that makes sense. So cortisol regulates your energy, your rhythm, your blood pressure, and your overall stress response. So if any of those are off, I'm sure you can see how this would have a massive impact on how you feel on a day-to-day basis. So in midlife, chronic stress and sleep dysregulation can absolutely lead to this dysregulation. So low in the morning and then high at night after feeling flat all day. That's not what we want. We want a beautiful bell curve that peaks in the morning and winds down along with you and your circadian rhythm. So if you're dysregulated, you may feel exhausted first thing in the morning when you wake up, wired at night, anxious, or prone to crashing midday. So some supportive tips are to eat within 30 to 60 minutes of waking. Having that protein coffee first thing in the morning is really helpful to that. Prioritizing that morning light exposure, adding in adaptogens like ashwagandha, holy basil, minimizing alcohol in coffee if you are currently dysregulated, and then introducing gentle practices like walking, breath work, and yoga are so helpful for us as we're trying to regulate your cortisol levels. So the last hormone that I like to look at is a metabolic hormone, and that is your insulin, your fasting insulin. To me, if you are on a blood sugar roller coaster all day, you are never going to be able to show up as your best self. If you are peaking and crashing and peaking and crashing, up and down, it's hard to feel stabilized if you're on that experience. So measuring your fasting insulin is really important for me. So I want to see an optimal range between 2 and 5. So even if your glucose is normal, like we've talked about, insulin can be elevated for years, for absolute years before it shows up. So high insulin levels can be the drivers of belly fat, inflammation, and hormone imbalances like PCOS. This is one I see very commonly in my practice. So if it's too high, you might experience fatigue after meals, constant sugar cravings, belly, weight gain, very specifically in the midsection, and then irregular cycles. So some supportive tips are focus on protein and fiber at every meal. If you eat protein and fiber with every single meal, you will be shocked with how well you feel and how quickly you begin to feel well. I can promise you this, girls. I am willing to put my stamp of approval on that if you focus on that for 7 to 10 days, I want you to come back to this video. That's me typing. And I want you to leave me a comment and let me know what changes you have felt. Because girl, I can promise you, you're going to feel more stabilized. And when you feel more stabilized, you're going to show up better. Your energy levels are going to be better. You're going to go out and kick the ball with the kids in the backyard. You're going to be grateful that you sat 20 minutes in. I hope we're not 20 minutes in. I bet we're 20 minutes in, but you're going to feel grateful that you sat 20 minutes in like this, taking notes like the A+ student that you are. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you for paying attention, for taking notes, and for taking action, okay? So after this though, all the notes, you're gonna take action. You're gonna type in the comment section. This is why I shouldn't be allowed to film videos when I'm sitting here at my desk. Far too many props. The pen, the paper, the clinking keyboard, but I want to inspire you to take action. And I want to inspire you to eat protein and fiber at every meal for 7 to 10 days. Come back and check in and let me know how you feel. It's life-changing. It's truly life-changing. In addition to that, you're gonna walk for 10 minutes after meals to improve your insulin sensitivity. If you believe you are somebody who's insulin sensitive. If you're not, you can just do the protein and fiber. But if you feel flushed, if you are somebody who's on that carb roller coaster, then we wanna do a 10-minute brisk walk after you eat, especially after a heavy meal. Then I want you to strength train. This is your best friend. If you could strength train 2 to 3 times per week, it's gonna change your life. And then I want us to reduce those refined carbs and hidden sugars. You can at that point consider berberine and inositol. By the way, the Biooptimizer's berberine is that girl. She is really that girl. So I know that this video is with the magnesium breakthrough, but the berberine from Biooptimizers is really unbelievable. So you can bring in inositol in the morning and berberine midday, and you are gonna feel a tremendous difference and not like you're on that daily roller coaster. So your symptoms are not random. Your symptoms are data. So let's look at that data. Let's interpret it. Let's understand it. And let's take action. Interpret, understand, take action. These symptoms are real life feedback loops that are coming to you day in and day out. You do not need to feel stuck in survival mode, girls. You can take action and you can begin to feel a difference. So I hope today's video was helpful. I hope that it demystified some of this data that's out there. And I hope it helps you understand that we can really reset this. We can take this data. We don't need to panic. We just need to make mindful shifts and adjustments to get us into the optimal range. So if you enjoyed today's video, you can let me know by giving it a big thumbs up. And now the subscribe button is right over here on the screen. Give that a click. That way you don't miss a single video. And I hope to see you back here next Thursday.